Captain Jake Morrison stood before the Galactic Council chamber and felt the weight of 70 years pressing down on his shoulders. The massive hall stretched before him, filled with representatives from 47 different species. Their seats rose in circular tiers, looking down at the small platform where he stood alone. Above him, holographic displays showed the data he had spent months collecting. Evidence, proof, warning signs that everyone was choosing to ignore. "The outer reaches are dying," Jake said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion that pulled at his bones. "In the past 6 months, we have lost contact with 19 stations. 42 ships have vanished without a trace. The pattern is clear. Something is out there, and it is moving closer to Council space." A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Not concern, dismissal. Jake had heard that sound too many times before. Council chair. Zexthar rose from his elevated seat. The Velen was tall and thin, with silver skin that caught the light. His 3 eyes fixed on Jake with something that looked like pity, mixed with contempt. "Captain Morrison," Zexthar said slowly, as if speaking to a child. "In 70 years, humanity has brought us nothing but paranoia. You see threats where there are none. You build weapons when we seek peace. You speak of enemies in the dark when the galaxy has enjoyed centuries of harmony." Jake felt his jaw tighten. "I am showing you the data. Ships do not simply vanish. Colonies do not go silent for no reason. We have detected energy signatures that do not match any known technology. If we establish defense stations in the region, we can monitor the situation and respond if needed." "Defense stations," another counselor said with a laugh. The Kelthian representative shook his head, his scales rattling. "You mean military bases. You mean weapons pointed at empty space. This is exactly why humanity should never have been granted council membership. You are warriors pretending to be diplomats." Ambassador Lisa Grant stepped forward from the human delegation area. She had been fighting this battle for 3 years, ever since Jake had brought her the first evidence. Her face was pale, but her voice was strong. "We are not asking for war," she said. "We are asking for preparation. We are asking you to take this seriously before it is too late." Zexthar spread his long arms wide. "The council will vote. All in favor of establishing human military presence in the outer reaches, indicate now." A single light appeared on the display. The human vote. Alone. "All opposed?" 47 lights filled the screen like stars. Jake closed his eyes for just a moment. Behind him, he heard Lisa take a sharp breath. "The motion fails," Zexthar announced. "Furthermore, the Council has decided that humanity's current military deployments are excessive and provocative. You are ordered to withdraw 70% of your patrol vessels from frontier zones within 90 days. This session is concluded." The gavel came down with a sound like a door slamming shut. Commander Ben Hayes was waiting when they left the chamber. The head of Earth's defense forces looked like he had aged 10 years in the past month. "How bad?" he asked. "As bad as it could be," Lisa said quietly. "They are not just ignoring us. They are forcing us to pull back our ships. Ben, if we withdraw from those zones, there will be nothing between the outer reaches and populated space." Ben nodded slowly. "I know. I have already sent word to the fleet commanders. They are waiting for orders." He looked at Jake. "What do you want to do?" Jake thought about the years he had spent in this place. The endless meetings where human proposals died before they could be discussed. The condescending looks. The way every warning was treated like the ramblings of a frightened child. He thought about the crews stationed in the dark places, watching sensors that showed something moving in the void. He thought about the responsibility humanity had carried. The duty they had accepted even when no one acknowledged it. "Get me a link to Earth," Jake said. "I need to speak with the president." 2 days later, Jake stood in the council chamber one final time. The seats were less full this time. Many counselors had not bothered to attend what they thought would be a simple compliance report. Zexathar looked bored as Jake took the platform. "The human delegation has prepared our response to the Council's demands," Jake began. Behind him, the holographic display changed. It showed the map of human territories and the vast network of ships and stations that had been operating for decades. "For 70 years we have served on this council. We came seeking partnership. We believed that together we could build something greater than any single species could achieve alone." He paused, looking around at the alien faces. Some were curious. Most were indifferent. "We stayed out of duty," Jake continued. "We stayed because we believed that someone needed to stand watch. We stayed because we hoped that eventually you would see that we were trying to help." He took a breath. "We leave because you have made it clear that you neither want nor value what we offer. You have called us warmongers. You have dismissed our warnings. You have reduced our ability to protect not just ourselves, but all of you." The chamber had gone quiet now. Zexthar leaned forward. "You are withdrawing from the council?" "Effective immediately," Jake said. "All human vessels will depart council space within 30 days. All military cooperation agreements are terminated. All shared defense protocols are void. You wanted us gone. You have your wish." He looked directly at Zexthar. "Protect yourselves." The human delegation turned and walked out. Behind them, the chamber erupted into noise. Some counselors shouted after them. Others laughed. Jake heard one say clearly, "Good riddance to the paranoid apes." Lisa walked beside him down the long corridor. Her hands were shaking. "Did we just make the biggest mistake in human history?" she asked quietly. Jake thought about the sensor readings that kept him awake at night, the patterns in the data that showed something vast and hungry moving through the dark. "No," he said. "We tried to help. They would not listen. Whatever comes next, it is on them." In orbit above the station, human ships began to power up their engines. One by one, they turned away from council space and headed home. Behind them, the galaxy celebrated, believing it had finally freed itself from humanity's constant fear and preparation. They would learn the truth soon enough. 3 months had passed since the human ships left council space. Admiral Kyle Chen stood on the bridge of the battleship Victory and watched the defensive perimeter take shape. Hundreds of ships moved in precise patterns, creating a wall between human territory and the rest of the galaxy. Behind that wall, humanity had gone silent. "Another trade convoy requesting permission to cross the border," his communications officer reported. "They are asking why we need armed escorts for simple cargo runs." Kyle shook his head. "Tell them the same thing we tell everyone. Human space is secure. Trade is welcome. Military access is denied. If they want to cross, they follow our protocols, or they turn around." The officer nodded and sent the message. Kyle turned back to the view screen. Out there, beyond human borders, the Council was learning what it meant to stand alone. Reports came through private channels, quiet messages from former allies who had argued against humanity's expulsion. The news was not good. Dr. Emma Rodriguez was reviewing the latest data when Kyle found her in the analysis room. The xenobiologist had spent years studying the energy signatures from the outer reaches. She had been one of the first to realize something was terribly wrong. "Show me the new readings," Kyle said. Emma pulled up the holo display. Red markers dotted the map, each one representing a location that had gone dark. 15 more colonies in the past week, she said quietly. "The pattern is spreading. Whatever is out there, it is not stopping. It is accelerating." "Has the Council acknowledged the problem yet?" Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They sent an investigation fleet to the Tarsus system. That was 2 weeks ago. We picked up distress signals for about 40 minutes. Then nothing." Kyle felt cold. "How many ships?" 23, including their newest carrier. Kyle, these were not pirates or raiders. The Council's military is not weak, but something tore through them like they were made of paper. They both stood in silence for a moment, watching the red markers multiply across the display. "We should warn them again," Emma said. "We tried. They called it human propaganda. They said we were manufacturing a crisis to justify our withdrawal." Kyle shook his head. "They will not listen until it is too late." Captain Ryan Foster was commanding the last human patrol in what used to be shared space. His ship, the Ranger, was technically in violation of a dozen council regulations. But Ryan had argued that the withdrawal deadline gave him 30 days, and he intended to use every single one of them. "Sir, we are picking up something strange," his sensor officer said. "Multiple contacts bearing 270. They are big, really big." Ryan moved to the sensor station. The screen showed massive energy signatures emerging from the dead zone. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. They were moving in perfect formation, heading directly toward council space. "Get me every detail you can," Ryan ordered. "Full spectrum analysis. Record everything." For 20 minutes, the Ranger drifted in stealth mode while its sensors worked. What they recorded made Ryan's blood run cold. The objects were ships, but not like any he had ever seen. They moved with mechanical precision. Their energy output was off the scale, and they were not slowing down. "Send this data to Admiral Chen immediately," Ryan said, "then send a copy to Council Command." "Sir, we are not supposed to communicate with the Council anymore." "I do not care. Send it. People are going to die if they do not know this is coming." The data package went out on all frequencies. Ryan waited, hoping someone would listen. The Council received the transmission at their headquarters. Zexthar reviewed it personally. He looked at the energy readings, the formation patterns, the projected course. Then he filed it under human disinformation and went back to his daily business. Councillor Thexon was not so quick to dismiss the warning. The Thrin representative had been one of the few who voted to maintain human cooperation. He took the data to the Council's military command and insisted they investigate. "There is nothing there," the fleet admiral told him. "We have ships in that sector. They report normal conditions." "Where exactly are those ships?" Thexon asked. The admiral checked his display. His face went pale. "They were supposed to report in 3 hours ago. Communications says they are experiencing technical difficulties." "Or they are dead," Thexon said quietly. "Send everything you have to that location. Now." But it was already too late. The first wave hit the outer colonies while the Council fleet was still preparing to depart. Station 47 sent out a desperate emergency signal. Cameras showed something emerging from the dark. Ships that looked like they were made from nightmares and broken geometry. They did not try to communicate. They did not issue warnings. They simply began tearing the station apart. "They are not taking prisoners!" the station commander screamed over the link. "They are converting everything. The station, the ships, even the debris. It is all being broken down and rebuilt into more of them. Oh God, they are inside now. They are..." The transmission ended. Station 47 disappeared from every sensor net. In its place, 37 new hostile contacts appeared. The news spread through Council space like fire. Within hours, every species knew that something terrible had arrived. Within days, 6 more colonies had fallen. Within weeks, the death toll reached the billions. Ryan Foster brought the Ranger home as the situation collapsed behind him. He crossed into human space and felt a strange mixture of relief and guilt. Relief that he was safe, guilt that so many were not. Admiral Kyle Chen met him personally when he docked. "You tried to warn them," Kyle said. "It was not enough," Ryan replied. "I watched it happen. I watched them get slaughtered, and I ran home like a coward." "You followed orders. You brought back intelligence we need." Kyle put a hand on Ryan's shoulder. This is not your fault. We tried for 70 years to make them listen. They made their choice. Did they? Ryan asked. Or did we abandon them when they needed us most? Kyle had no answer for that. In the council chambers, the mood had changed from celebration to panic. The species that had laughed at humanity's warnings now begged for their return. Emergency delegations were assembled. Messages were sent to Earth, each more desperate than the last. We need human military support, one message read. Please, we were wrong. We admit it. Just help us. Zexthar himself recorded a message to be sent to President Nicole Ramirez. In it, the proud council chair did something he had never done before. He apologized. We did not see the danger, he said to the camera. We thought you were the threat. We were blind and arrogant. Please, humanity, help us. The message was received and logged. For 3 days, there was no response. 3 days, while more worlds fell. 3 days while the Council's military forces tried and failed to stop the advancing enemy. 3 days while refugees began flooding toward the only border that seemed to be holding, the border to human space. Admiral Kyle Chen watched the refugee ships arrive, thousands of them, desperate aliens fleeing the destruction of everything they knew. His orders were clear: offer sanctuary, provide humanitarian aid, but do not engage the enemy. They are dying out there, Emma said, standing beside him on the bridge. Every hour we wait, thousands more die. I know, Kyle said, but the decision is not ours to make. It belongs to Earth. Behind the defensive perimeter, in the halls of power on Earth, President Nicole Ramirez was facing the hardest choice of her life. General Sam Peterson had been in the military for 42 years. He had fought in border conflicts that no one knew about. He had commanded ships in the dark places where things moved that should not exist. He had seen humanity's true enemy up close, and he knew what was coming for the Council. How many worlds have fallen? President Nicole Ramirez asked. She sat behind her desk in the command center, her face tired. Around her, screens showed the situation unfolding across Council space. 73 confirmed lost, Sam reported. Another 100+ have gone silent. We estimate 15 billion casualties so far. The number climbs every hour. Nicole closed her eyes. And our borders? Holding perfectly. The swarm has not attempted to cross into human territory. I think they remember what happened last time they tried. Last time, Nicole said quietly. Sam, how long have we known about them? Sam pulled up a historical file. First contact was 94 years ago. A research station in what was then unexplored space. The station discovered a derelict machine and tried to study it. The machine activated and called others. We lost the station and 12 response ships before we figured out how to fight them. And we never told the Council. We tried. In the early years of our membership, we shared the data. They said we had encountered rogue AI from a dead civilization. They said it was contained. They forbade us from discussing it further because it might cause unnecessary panic. Sam shook his head. So we handled it ourselves. For decades, we have been fighting a quiet war on the frontier. Every ship we lost, every station that went dark, we told the Council it was equipment failure or spatial anomalies. We built the defenses they called excessive. We maintained the military they called unnecessary, all to keep this thing away from them. And now, we are watching them die because they would not listen. Yes, ma'am. Ambassador Kate Williams was in a conference room filled with Council representatives. They had finally been allowed to enter human space, but only for this meeting. No military personnel, no weapons, just desperate politicians begging for help. Councillor Mixra led the Kelthian delegation. The same councillor who had called humans warriors pretending to be diplomats now sat with her head bowed. Please, she said simply. We need you. Kate looked at each of them. Species that had spent 70 years looking down on humanity. Species that had celebrated when the humans left. Species that were now paying the price for their arrogance. "You called it the swarm," Kate said. "That is what your people are naming it in the reports. Do you know what it actually is?" "Machines," Mixra said. "Ancient weapons from a civilization that died out millions of years ago. They are converting matter into copies of themselves. Every ship they destroy becomes part of their fleet. Every station they consume gives them more resources. They are exponentially growing." "We know what they are," Kate said coldly. "We have known for 94 years. We tried to tell you. You would not listen." "We were wrong," Mixra shouted, slamming her hand on the table. "Is that what you want to hear? We were wrong about everything, about you, about the threat, about our own strength. We were arrogant and stupid, and now our children are dying. Please, help us." Kate was quiet for a long moment. "I will take your request to the president, but you need to understand something. Every warning we gave you, every time we asked for support, every proposal we made to strengthen the defenses, you voted us down. You tied our hands. You reduced our patrols. You did everything possible to make this disaster happen. Why should we save you from consequences you chose?" Zexthar spoke up from the end of the table. The former council chair looked like he had aged decades. "Because you are better than we are," he said quietly. "Because humanity has something we do not. You call it honor. We thought it was weakness. We were wrong about that too." The refugee camps at the human border had swollen to massive size. Millions of aliens crowded into temporary shelters. Human aid workers moved among them, providing food, medical care, and basic supplies. The aliens watched these humans with new eyes. The species they had scorned was now the only thing standing between them and death. Captain Amy Walsh walked through one of the camps, checking on security. A young Velen child approached her, holding a small toy. "Are you human?" the child asked. "Yes," Amy said, kneeling down to the child's level. "My teacher said humans are dangerous. She said you like to fight." Amy smiled sadly. "We fight when we have to protect people who cannot protect themselves. Will you protect us?" Amy did not know how to answer that. She was a military officer. She followed orders, and her orders were clear: defend human space, provide humanitarian aid, but do not engage the swarm. It was the right thing to do strategically. Let the council face the consequences of their choices. But looking into this child's eyes, Amy wondered if the right strategic choice was also the right moral choice. General Sam Peterson stood in the war room with his senior staff. They had been reviewing the tactical situation for hours. "If we commit our forces, what are we looking at?" Sam asked. His tactical officer pulled up projections. "The swarm has approximately 12,000 active units now, growing by about 500 per day. Our current fleet strength is 8,000 ships, but we have technological advantages, better weapons, better shields, better tactics. We estimate we could halt the swarm's advance within 6 weeks. Complete elimination would take 4 to 6 months. Casualties? Optimistic estimate? 12,000 human deaths. Realistic estimate? 40,000. Pessimistic estimate? We lose 70% of the fleet and the war." Sam looked at the numbers. 40,000 lives, maybe more, all to save people who had spent 70 years treating humanity like a problem to be managed. "There is another option," his intelligence officer said quietly. "We do nothing. The swarm continues into council space. Current projections show it will consume 70% of the council's territory within 8 months. But then it will run out of easily accessible matter. It will go dormant again, waiting for the next civilization to wake it up. Human space remains secure. We survive." They do not. The room went silent. Everyone understood what was being discussed. A choice between justice and mercy, between protecting their own people and saving billions of aliens who did not deserve saving. "What would you do?" Sam asked. His intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, I lost my brother in the border wars. He died fighting the swarm while the council complained about our military budget. If you ask me personally, I say we let them burn." Sam nodded slowly. He understood that feeling. He felt it himself. In her office, President Nicole Ramirez was reading reports from the camps, stories of families torn apart, children who had watched their parents die, elderly who had lost everything they had built over lifetimes, species that had lived in peace for centuries now facing extinction. Jake Morrison entered quietly. The retired captain had requested this meeting. "I heard Kate's report from the council delegation," he said. "I know what they are asking. I know what it costs." "I am listening," Nicole said. "For 70 years, I stood in that council chamber," Jake said. "I gave warnings that no one heard. I made proposals that no one accepted. I watched them dismiss and belittle and mock everything humanity tried to do. And you know what the worst part was? They were not evil. They were just comfortable. They had lived in peace for so long that they forgot what it took to maintain that peace. They forgot that someone has to stand watch. Someone has to face the monsters in the dark. So you think we should let them face the consequences?" Jake shook his head. "I think we should be better than they were. We did not protect them because they deserved it. We protected them because someone had to. That has not changed. Yes, they treated us badly. Yes, they brought this on themselves. But if we let billions die because we are angry, then we are no better than they are." Nicole looked out the window at Earth below. "It could cost us everything. Our people are tired. They feel betrayed. Many want to see the council pay for how they treated us. I know, but we are not doing this for them. We are doing this for us, because it is who we are." Jake met her eyes. "We are the people who stand watch, even when no one thanks us, even when everyone tells us we are wrong. We are the people who do what needs to be done." Nicole was quiet for a long time. Then she reached for her communicator. "Get me General Peterson." Commander Chris Blake stood in the briefing room with 200 other officers. They had been called together for an emergency meeting, and everyone knew what it meant. The decision had been made. They were going to war for people who hated them. "I do not believe this," Chris said to the officer next to him. "After everything the council did to us, we are really going to save them?" Lieutenant Hannah Price looked at him with steady eyes. "What would you have us do? Let billions die?" They made their choice. Let them live with it. Chris felt anger burning in his chest, anger that had been building for years. "My sister was stationed at Outpost 72. She died defending the border while the council accused us of militarism. They cut our funding. They reduced our patrols. And when she died, they called it an unfortunate accident. Never acknowledged what she was actually fighting, never thanked her, never even admitted there was a threat." Hannah touched his arm gently. "I know. My father was at Outpost 72 too. I understand your anger. But Chris, if we let the council fall because we are angry, then everyone who died protecting them died for nothing. They did not fight for the council's gratitude. They fought because it was right. It is not fair." "No, it is not. But that is what makes us different from them. We do the right thing even when it is not fair." General Sam Peterson entered the room, and the conversation stopped. Every officer stood at attention. Sam looked out at them, seeing the mix of emotions on their faces: determination, anger, fear, resignation. "At ease," he said. "I know what you are thinking. I know what you are feeling. I have felt it too. We all have." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "President Ramirez has made her decision. We are mobilizing the full fleet. We are going into council space. We are going to stop the swarm. A wave of murmurs went through the room. Sam raised his hand for silence. I am not going to lie to you. This will be the hardest fight humanity has ever faced. We will lose ships. We will lose people. Some of you in this room will not come home. He let that sink in. And we are doing it for people who spent 70 years telling us we were wrong. People who laughed when we left. People who ignored every warning we gave. Then why are we doing it, sir? Someone called out. Because we are not doing it for them, Sam said firmly. We are doing it for us. Because we are the people who stand between the darkness and the light. Because we are the ones who do what needs to be done, even when no one thanks us. Because if we let billions die when we could have saved them, we lose the thing that makes us who we are. He looked around the room. I will not force anyone to go. If you cannot fight for the council, I understand. But I am asking you to fight for humanity, to fight for the idea that we are better than the worst things that have been done to us, to fight because it is right. Silence filled the room. Then Commander Chris Blake stepped forward. I am in, sir. I still think they do not deserve it. But Hannah is right. My sister did not die for their gratitude. She died doing what was right. I can do the same. One by one, every officer in the room stepped forward. Not because they forgave the council, but because they were human, and humans protected people, even when those people did not deserve it. The fleet mobilization happened faster than anyone thought possible. Ships that had been in reserve for decades powered up their systems. Crews that had been on standby received their orders. Weapons that had been kept hidden were brought online. Ambassador Kate Williams watched from the observation deck as ship after ship left Earth orbit. Hundreds of them, more appearing every hour. She had spent her career believing in diplomacy, in the power of words and negotiation. But watching humanity's military might on display, she understood what the Council had never grasped. Peace was not maintained by hope and good intentions. It was maintained by people willing to fight for it. Counselor Mixra stood beside her. The Kelthian representative had been given permission to observe the mobilization. She watched in stunned silence as the fleet assembled. How many ships is that? She asked quietly. 400 so far, Kate said. We will have 8,000 by tomorrow. 8,000? Mixra's voice was weak. But the council records show humanity only had 2,000 military vessels. Kate smiled without humor. The council knew what we wanted you to know. You thought we were militaristic with 2,000 ships. What would you have done if you knew the real number? How many more restrictions would you have placed on us? How much harder would you have made it for us to protect you? We were fools. Yes, but you were lucky fools. Lucky that humanity chose to protect you anyway. Deep in Earth's military command, Dr. Ben Carter was briefing the fleet commanders on what they would face. The scientist had spent 15 years studying the swarm, looking for weaknesses, developing countermeasures. The swarm operates through a networked intelligence, he explained, showing holographic models. Each unit is semi-autonomous, but they are all connected to a central nexus. Think of it like a hive mind. The nexus processes information and coordinates strategy. Take out enough units, and the network becomes overloaded. Take out the nexus, and the entire swarm collapses. Where is the nexus? Admiral Kyle Chen asked. That is the problem. It moves. It is housed in a mobile platform that stays hidden behind the front lines. We have never been able to locate it during the border conflicts. It is shielded, camouflaged, and constantly relocating. So we have to fight through the entire swarm to reach it? Unless we can find another way. I am working on a tracking method using quantum entanglement signatures. If it works, we might be able to pinpoint the nexus location. But I need time. You have 6 days, Kyle said. That is how long before the fleet reaches the combat zone. Ben nodded. 6 days to solve a problem that had stumped him for 15 years. He got to work. President Nicole Ramirez addressed the nation from the White House. Her speech was broadcast across all human territories and transmitted to the refugee camps. "Today, we make a choice," she began. "Not the easy choice, not the popular choice, but the right choice. We are sending our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters, our friends and loved ones into harm's way. We are sending them to fight for people who have not been kind to us, people who did not believe in us, people who made this fight necessary through their own arrogance." She paused, her voice growing stronger. "But we are not doing this for them. We are doing this for ourselves, for the idea that humanity can be better than the sum of our grievances, that we can look beyond what we have suffered and see what others are suffering, that we can choose mercy when we have every right to choose justice." The camera moved closer. "Some will say we are fools. Some will say we should let the council face the consequences of their choices. They are not entirely wrong. But here is what I believe. We are defined not by what is done to us, but by what we do in response. We can be bitter or we can be better. We can nurse our wounds or we can heal others. We can watch the galaxy burn or we can fight to save it." Her eyes were hard now, filled with determination. "We choose to fight, not because they deserve it, but because we are human. And this is what humans do. We stand watch. We protect the weak. We fight the monsters, even when no one asks us to, even when no one thanks us, even when the cost is high." She stood. "To our fleet. Come home safe. You carry humanity's hopes with you. To the council. We are coming, not to save you, but to save ourselves from becoming like you. And to the swarm. You picked the wrong galaxy. Humanity is here, and we are done running." The broadcast ended. Across human space, people watched their loved ones prepare for war. In the refugee camps, millions of aliens watched the same broadcast and felt something they had not felt in months: hope. The fleet departed Earth in waves, 8,000 ships, carrying the finest military force humanity had ever assembled. They crossed the border into council space in formation, heading toward the sound of the guns. Behind them, Earth waited. Ahead of them, the swarm advanced, unaware that it was about to learn why humans were feared. Fleet Admiral Matt Crawford stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiant and watched the tactical display. 8,000 human ships moved through space in perfect coordination. Behind them, Council forces struggled to keep up. The difference in discipline was obvious. Humanity had been fighting this enemy for decades. The Council was learning as they died. "First contact in 30 minutes, his tactical officer reported. "Swarm forces estimated at 15,000 units. "They outnumber us almost 2-to-1, someone muttered. Matt smiled grimly. "They always do. That is why we are better." The swarm detected the human fleet and moved to intercept. Their ships looked like geometries that hurt to look at, all sharp angles and wrong proportions. They accelerated toward the humans with mechanical precision. "All ships, this is Admiral Crawford," Matt broadcast on the fleet channel. "Remember your training. Stay in formation. Trust your wingmen. And show these machines why you do not mess with humanity. Weapons free. Engage at will." The space between the fleets erupted in fire and light. Human ships moved with a grace that shocked the Council observers. They did not charge forward like the Council fleets had done. They did not break formation. Instead, they flowed like water, each ship covering another, creating interlocking fields of fire that left no opening. Swarm units exploded by the dozen, overwhelmed by coordinated attacks. "They are falling back," the tactical officer said, sounding surprised. "The swarm is retreating." Matt shook his head. "No, they are adapting. They do this. They probe our defenses, analyze our tactics, then adjust. Watch." He was right. The swarm units regrouped and came at them from a different angle, using new formations. But humanity had been fighting this war for 90 years. Every tactic the swarm tried, humans had seen before. Every adaptation had a counter. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the humans had lost 43 ships. The swarm had lost 3,000 units. Captain Amy Walsh led her squadron through the debris field searching for survivors. They found a council ship that had wandered into the battle zone, crippled and drifting. Amy ordered a rescue operation. "This is Captain Walsh of the human fleet," she transmitted. "We are coming to get you. Hold tight." The response was weak. "Human? You came back?" "We did. Now shut up and let us do our job." They pulled 97 council crew members from the dying ship. As they transferred to the human vessels, one of them, a young Velen, grabbed Amy's arm. "Thank you," he said, tears in his eyes. "I thought we were dead." "You are not dead," Amy said firmly. "Not on my watch." The human fleet pushed deeper into council space, liberating world after world. Everywhere they went, they found the same scene. Swarm units consuming everything, converting matter into more of themselves. And everywhere they went, the humans fought with a ferocity that made the council species realize they had never truly understood what humanity was capable of. Commander Chris Blake led a ground operation on a partially consumed colony world. Swarm units had overrun the surface, but civilians were still trapped in underground shelters. Chris's team fought through the machine horde, clearing sector by sector. "How many civilians?" Chris asked over the comm. "Approximately 5,000, his intel officer replied. "Mixed species. They have been down there for 3 weeks. Chris gritted his teeth. 3 weeks of terror, waiting to die. "We are getting them out. All of them." The battle was brutal. Swarm units fought with relentless efficiency, never tiring, never afraid. But Chris's team fought with something the machines could not match: determination born from protecting others. They carved a path to the shelters and evacuated every single civilian. As the last transport lifted off, a young girl, a Kelthian, looked up at Chris. "Are you human?" she asked. "Yeah, kid, I am." "My mom said humans are heroes." She was right. Chris felt something break inside him. All the anger he had carried, all the resentment, it did not vanish. But it got smaller, because this child, looking at him with hope and gratitude, she had done nothing to humanity. She was innocent, and she deserved to live. Back on the Defiant, Dr. Ben Carter worked frantically in the science lab. 96 hours into the offensive, and he still had not located the swarm nexus. The quantum tracking was working, but the nexus was using some kind of dampening field. Then Lieutenant Hannah Price, who had been assisting him, noticed something. "Dr. Carter, look at this. The dampening field creates a specific interference pattern. It is very subtle, but it is there. If we overlay all our sensor readings from the past 3 days..." She brought up a composite map. A dark spot appeared, moving through space, never staying in one place, but leaving a trail. "That is it," Ben said, feeling his heart race. "That is the nexus. Hannah, you just saved the galaxy." Matt Crawford reviewed the data and made his decision. "We hit it now, before it realizes we have found it. Amy, your ship is the fastest. I am giving you command of the strike force." Captain Amy Walsh looked at the mission parameters. The nexus was hidden inside a dead star system, surrounded by 10,000 swarm units. Getting to it would require punching through that defense. Getting out might not be possible. "I will need volunteers," Amy said. "This is a one-way trip." Every captain in the fleet volunteered. Amy selected 50 ships, the best pilots, the bravest crews. They said goodbye to their friends, recorded messages for their families, and prepared to do the impossible. The strike force entered the dead star system at full speed. Swarm units swarmed them immediately. Amy's ships fought like demons, pushing forward through overwhelming fire. Ships exploded around her. Friends died on her tactical display. But they kept going. Nexus visual confirmed, her sensor officer shouted. Dead ahead inside the star's corona. All ships follow me in, Amy ordered. It has been an honor serving with you. They dove into the dying star's photosphere, shields screaming under the thermal load. The swarm units could not follow. Their machines were not built for this kind of punishment. But human ships were. Human engineering, born from fighting in the worst places, kept them alive long enough to reach the Nexus. It was massive, a construct the size of a city, pulling power from the star itself. Amy armed every weapon her ship had. This is for everyone you killed, she said quietly. This is for all the lives you destroyed. This is from humanity. She fired everything. The other ships did the same. The Nexus shielded itself. But 50 ships focusing fire on a single point was too much. The shields failed. The hull cracked. The reactor went critical. Amy watched the explosion begin and felt a strange peace. She had done her job. The galaxy would live. But then her communications officer shouted, "Captain, we have a rescue ship inbound. It is Admiral Crawford. He came for us." The flagship Defiant, shields at maximum, pushed into the star's corona and grabbed every ship that could still fly. They pulled Amy's crippled vessel out with tractor beams and ran for open space. Behind them, the Nexus exploded with the force of a supernova. The shockwave caught them, throwing ships around like toys, but they made it. Against all odds, they made it out. In Council space, every swarm unit stopped simultaneously. They drifted for a moment, directionless. Then they began to tear themselves apart, their programming failing without the Nexus to guide them. The war was over. 2 months later, Jake Morrison stood in the rebuilt council chambers. He had been asked to return as humanity's representative. The chamber was different now. Quieter, humbler. Zexthar stood before the assembled species. The former council chair looked older, worn by guilt and grief. We have asked Captain Morrison here today to accept our formal apology and to accept our offer of leadership within the council. Humanity has earned the right to guide us. Jake shook his head. We do not want to lead you. We never did. But we will not let you forget what happened here. You forgot that peace has a price. You forgot that someone has to stand watch. You forgot that the monsters in the dark are only kept at bay by those willing to face them. He looked around at the alien faces. We will return to the council, but not as we were. From now on, when we warn you, you listen. When we propose defenses, you support them. And when we volunteer to stand watch, you honor what that means. Zexthar bowed his head. Agreed. And humanity will have our full support. Financial, military, political. Whatever you need. Jake nodded. Then we have a deal. But remember this. We did not save you because you deserved it. We saved you because it was right. Try to be worthy of that sacrifice. In the end, the Council learned what the galaxy had needed to understand all along. Humans were not warriors pretending to be diplomats. They were guardians who had been fighting alone in the dark, protecting people who did not even know there was a threat. The day humans left the Galactic Council was the day the universe learned fear. But the day humans returned was the day the universe learned something more important. Sometimes the people you dismiss as paranoid, militaristic, and aggressive are actually the ones standing between you and annihilation. And when they are gone, you learn very quickly what they were protecting you from. Humanity took its place in the Council again, not as equals begging for acceptance, but as the acknowledged guardians of galactic peace. And in every system, on every world, the Council species taught their children a new lesson. When the humans tell you there are monsters in the dark, you believe them. Because they are the ones who have been fighting those monsters all along.